Hello everyone and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming total lunar eclipse taking place in the sign of Virgo on the 14th of March 2025, but also about the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde that is going to be unfolding under this eclipse. Okay, maybe technically speaking, the Mercury retrograde is not going to be unfolding on every part of the planet exactly at the time of eclipse because in some places Mercury actually goes retrograde on the 15th, so a day after the eclipse. But from a karmic perspective, on one hand, it really that couple of hours really doesn't matter. And on the other hand, Mercury is in a way standing still in the sky, even at the moment of the eclipse, so we can consider it retrograde. And this is why it's not a very easy energy, neither is it an energy that is very obvious out there. It has very many layers to it, and chances are it is definitely gonna, how should I say, influence the collective expression in a certain way. It's gonna stir up strong feelings like this part is very obvious and is really not a secret. And of course, there is chances are some crisis attached to this as well. However, also an awakening, a solution, um, a revolution, really. Even though that revolution does not necessarily have to be something all that much, I don't know, spectacular, violent, or extreme. However, the moon, so the lunar eclipse is in the sign of Virgo. The disher out of the energy is Mercury. Mercury is in the sign of Aries, as I said, standing still in the sky. So it means business. It is prepared. It is stop. The mind stops, right? Literally. Something stops us in our tracks and invites us to the retrograde keywords here. Rethink, reimagine, re-envisage, redesign, redo, relax. But I'm so sorry to say, no, relax is not gonna be. Maybe for some people, individually, yes. For people who slave drive themselves on a regular basis, normally. Why? Because this eclipse is illuminated by not just the sun, Saturn sun. So, what does Saturn require? Well, from some people, it will require a full stop. Stop and rethink your life because this is a Pisces sun. What is good and bad? Let me give you a typical example that I'm 1,000,000% sure is going to play out in the lives of some people because every astrological energy has a very typical, common 100% expression on it. So, Pisces Virgo axis, let's take a nurse. A very good example. The eclipse happens, and what happens in the life of a nurse? Killing yourself with work and sense of duty. Okay, in certain phases in your life, it's not even optional. The full immersion and the becoming your work is part of the game, part of the deal, part of the ideal, right? An ideal healer does that at a certain phase in their lives. But then comes this eclipse and tells the nurse, well, sweetie, you are at a certain age where you must give, I don't know, your romantic side, your ego, your maternal side, one side of yours that was starved to death, some attention. So we are gonna break down now, okay? And you understand that when the breakdown happens, the nurse is gonna be, oh my goodness, how come I can't be, I don't know, stopped now, I can't be ill now, I can't be in crisis now because my work, and especially that the eclipse also brings a healthcare type of crisis one way or another. Maybe it's not about an illness, a health crisis that needs attention. Maybe it's administration, money, morality of, or results of an investigation from the past, which rings alarms. All of this is very probable. So this is happening in the world, right? Then the nurse, I can't stop now because I'm needed. Fate says, no, 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 you are gonna stop. Probably go to a mountain resort or somewhere to get yourself together. And there she meets Don Juan or something like that. And a powerful healing takes place in her life. And the nurse realizes that being a total slave is not the road to heaven or to greater good, but rather the system does not work very well. So she is doing the system a favor by withdrawing. Even though Pisces, there's a side to that which would be cruel and cowardice even. But this is exactly the nuance of the energy. The very same thing at certain moments is cowardice. The very same thing as other certain moments is pure insanity and foolishness. So this is Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde together, even conjunct together at the moment of the eclipse. We need to figure out the measures of things in our lives. What do we feel, who we are, what part of our life is an illusion, but everything is, okay, let me answer. Everything is an illusion because the human condition and our ego, our identity, even our soul is generated by our lucid dream, right? The part of us which is the divine spark, well, only that stands on its own regardless of our input. The rest of us is our input to a certain degree. So many times that needs re-envisaging, rethinking, re-distillation. Why not? Because this eclipse is not going to be very easy for a lot of people, and including collectively, from a psycho-emotional perspective, because on one hand, Saturn, Sun, reality check, wake up. Saturn, Sun, time is here, time is now, no more waiting. The fated moment and hour is here. But what for? Well, when something stops, when something needs to be eliminated, when something needs to be looked at in the eye, for some people, this will be, why not, very, very positive, because some people run away from life's rewards on a regular basis. I don't need the celebration today. I don't need the thank you today. I don't need the money today. I don't need the favor back today. And that today is never really. I just don't need. Some people will be chased down by fate and karma, where it will not let me in, let me honor you back. Or sometimes karmic justice is karmic justice and the victim cannot stop it. What does that mean? Well, justice means that there is an imbalance, right? So let's say that symbolically that a part is an aggressor, a part is a victim, even though it's never like this. But for the sake of understanding and simplifying it, let's agree that it's like this. But let's say that the victim wasn't a victim for himself. Mm, Let me give you an example. Someone was hit by a car, but in a very mild, it wasn't really even an accident. And that person gets up and just walks away. And it doesn't matter if the driver wants to do the right thing. The person says, "Are you crazy? I'm not hurt really. Why should we do this just for formalities by?" But this is where karma can chase the victim off, because if the driver goes and does the right thing and declares everything, well, the police will have to kind of track down the victim one way or another as well. Because you know what I mean. At least for a declaration, I'm okay, no problem. But put this into context where how many times we run away from karmic harvest, karmic rebalancing, where we don't ask for it, we don't need pride, our spiritual pride. I don't need it, I don't want it, I'm okay, I don't even want justice, I'm fine. But balance is balance, and especially eclipses do this, especially when it's a total lunar eclipse, and especially where a lot of eclipses took place recently in Libra, right? Libra is where the two sides agree. Okay, if you don't mind, I don't mind. In Virgo, it doesn't work that way, because in Virgo, it's the nitty gritty up to the last cent, or you know what I mean. So Virgo karmic energy can be extraordinarily precise. With Mercury in the sign of Aries, it's not just precise, it needs to be, well, quick, efficient, the ram energy. And Mercury going backwards, well, first of all, it prepares to ram. Before it rams, it prepares. But Venus does the same thing, and both of these planets head back to the same sign. They mirror each other. So the head and the heart are hand in hand. Then there is Saturn in the picture, because Saturn's sun illuminates this. And both of them are very close to the node, the north node, sorry. Neptune, on the other hand, is an erratic Pisces, also very close to the node, but in a it's leaving it, the node. This is, well, intense. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is big, this is intense, this is time's up, time is, and Virgo. Virgo is when things get real and serious. Gemini is when Mercury's other sign is when things don't have to be serious yet. It's just a plan. It's just, even if it's fixed dates and times and agreements and stuff like that, it doesn't have to be serious yet, right? Duality, the Gemini type of duality, you can still go back and forth, renegotiate. It's not yet set in stone. In Virgo, when the energy reaches Virgo, well, it's set in stone, and the plan is gonna be followed. Since Mercury is retrograde, not just followed, the plan can be readjusted very last minute. So it's heavy. It's precise, laser beam, precise, and Virgo labels. Now, if there was a time when the energy collectively is what it is, okay, but individually, it's not just karmic, it has a label on it, a little dedication, a letter with our names. And this is why, well, let's put the eclipse into context. We feel the way we do, something ended in our souls, in our hearts, something happened that will requires our immediate decision and attention, and life is not the same again, regardless of why. For example, all of a sudden, sometimes life is like that. You have an allergy you didn't yesterday, or the rest of you, all of your life you didn't. Now, for the rest of your life, you will. that is a permanent change. Okay, you will say, well, okay, it's just a little allergy. I mean, it's not the end of the world, thank goodness. Yeah, absolutely, but the diet changes. Imagine if it's gluten or something that you ate on a regular basis before. That is a big change, and it's not going to be easy no matter what kind of attitude you have. Even if you have, well, this is an opportunity. Yes, it is, but it's never going to be easy. The other thing is that allergies say something. There's a psycho-emotional imprint, pattern, what happened, what do you need to look at emotionally? And then there is a karmic element. What and who do you need to eliminate from your life? In the sense that maybe that person, eclipses and Pisces energy, is not alive anymore. Go back to the past and forgive or forget or settle it. Right? If you can't alone, no worries. Psychotherapist or hypnotherapist or astrologist, whatever. There's a lot of, but this is the eclipse. It will say something big. And as I said, labels, and the label contains our name and a person, why this happened. Let me give a positive example. Someone hated their childhood so much that they are refusing inheritance. They're one of, I don't know, three brothers or sisters or whatever, not going home, doesn't even answer. No, 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 no. Well, something happens. Maybe they have such a vivid and turbulent dream that it scares them on a soul level. And okay, I'm going. Okay, I get the picture. I get the idea. I'll go and settle it. Right? It's a dream. It was just a dream. However, it brought closure for him and the whole family, and it has a financial Virgo side to it, which is for the person maybe so very positive they don't even know it. The investment, the basis of their future rent, house deposit, business, a course, university, whatever, and they at this moment have no idea, because sometimes that's how karma works. There are eclipses in September. Maybe they will have idea in September. Or this eclipse is so much Cinderella, where we're at the part of the story where the ball and the fairy godmother and the nice magic and all of that and the drama and the pain, all of that is already over. And Cinderella just moved on. When the prince went to, she was already moved on. However, under such a powerful eclipse, she is found and destiny takes her. So, you know what I mean? This is the part where Cinderella, well, is tracked down. She doesn't want it, she doesn't believe in it, but she's tracked down. There is a very positive example of, because why Virgo? Well, Virgo, as I said, it means serious business. No, it doesn't matter what you feel. If there's an agreement, if there are coordinates, if there's a recipe, right? Then Virgo's up to the letter, perfectionism. So, including karma. And this is the type of energy where be careful what you wish for, but in a sense, how you wish it. Because this comes up to the letter. And thank goodness for Mercury retrograde, because we can still work with it, even if we wished in a bad way for, you won't know what I mean. So this I find extremely positive and really, really, uplifting. But on the other hand, even the crisis expression of this energy is very positive, because Virgo Pisces is healing. Detox, elimination. Finally, after a lot of years coming to your senses, finally, after many years, something ends. The victim, the life of the victim is over. So that means the habits, the customs, everything about the victim's life is going. And a new life is beginning, like it or not, want it or not. This is when someone had a massive psychological breakdown. And yes, the pills and the treatment helped a great deal, but now, and they actually adapted and started thriving. That's why the treatment ends, and you need to start thriving without. Now, you can imagine that, of course, that will happen, but when the treatment ends, the first, I don't know, weeks or whatever, is not gonna be happy. It will feel like going back and even worse than before the treatment. But that's when the therapist knows and the person is prepared. In a week or two, the thrive can resume. So, and the healing enters new stages. So this is exactly how this eclipse will work. So even the bad is good. Because it's Virgo Pisces, 1 trillion% for a lot of people out there is gonna be detox. But quit smoking, but you smoked all your life. Quit some anything and you've done it all your life. And don't mean junkie here because actually I do mean junkie because all of us are junkies. Humankind, human species is a junkie. Taste. That's not life. You can't spiritualize it. That's junkie. That's 1 million% junkie. Enjoying fruits for their taste, that's junkie. No matter alcohol, like I don't even need to get to alcohol because even things that seem totally innocent are still the same thing as drugs. Sugar, even non-material things like spending time at the river, in the sunlight, moonlight, whatever light, in the conditions where you love. There it is. It's just a series of conditions met, but it's still the same drug type of feeling, right? So for a lot of people, a strong detox, whatever that means, relationships, friendships, uh, sensuality. For other people, and this is written in the stars, innocence. But when innocence is silly, stupid, it does not elevate you. It just is rigid nonsense anymore. That type of fanatical, rigid innocence. Or when someone, like the Four of Coins tarot card, is gripping on something obsessively, but it's no value any longer. So releasing something. Um, that is simply, but you get what I mean. Something stops, routine stops. What we are doing each and every day stops, and something else is gonna be taking its place. And Venus Mercury retrograde together, they're gonna play into it. Not just this, into also the following partial solar eclipse at the end of March. However, that eclipse is partial and it takes place in Aries. Okay, a powerful new moon, but it's not as karmic as this eclipse. Not as karmic as this. So yeah. And the other thing, the moon is trine by Uranus. So I find that so extraordinary because there is a massive shock and surprise factor that can come from the recent past, especially when Uranus was at this 24 degrees Uh, last year, somewhere in September-ish, in the autumn, something like that. So surprises can come from that time period. On the world stage, let's be totally honest with each other, it's gonna be event filled because both Mercury and Venus are gonna go to 0 degrees of Aries, where Neptune is aiming towards. That's the world stage, that's public, that's what happens. And it's big, 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 like events in the 1930s, 1940s. Yeah. So, and we see those play out. But astrologers, even from going back to 2018, said that that is coming, including myself. So, this isn't really a big surprise. And this can also produce a lot of, well, on one hand, geomagnetic activities, calamities, storms, weird or extreme weather phenomenon where all of the elements are triggered because Pisces brings the water, Aries brings the fire, Virgo and Taurus brings the earth, and Jupiter in Gemini with Pluto in Aquarius bring the air. But Jupiter triggers weather stuff on its own. As well, Mars in Cancer boils the water really. And speaking about Mars, this, um, as in the Sun, we can very well say that it trines Mars and even Saturn. They hold a trine. So it's a trine, okay, it's really good. But remember what I said about eclipses. When eclipses are trined, well, the good is not necessarily under the eclipse, but after, when it sinks in, karmically, emotionally, mentally, whatever. But trines usually make the eclipse more powerful, more extreme. So, yeah, there's that side to it as well. So Uranus trines the moon. Uranus trines the south node. It energizes. There's some kind of earthquake here. Maybe not physical, but political, informational, in the healthcare system, any kind of industry, because Virgo is workers. Workers are doing something. But this can also represent a massive new technology that changes the world instantly. The revelation of something, because that's also eclipse. But before we get more into the eclipse, I just want to quickly mention. So Venus retrograde started on the 1st of March and ends on the 12th of April, where Venus is going to retrograde back into Pisces on the 23rd of March and back into Aries, go direct back into Aries on May the 1st. So the eclipse, whatever it does, this is a period when the Venusian part of it, what we feel, what is true, what is not true emotionally, but value-wise, and even psycho-emotionally, because she moves into a Pisces back. Okay, it's all starts in Aries, the head, or the fire, or okay, we get it because something's gonna ring a bell. And after we process it and make a decision how we feel, relate to our wisdom, past intuition, come up with answers that are highly subjective, consult our Saturn limitations, our boundaries, what is true to us and what is not. After all of this, well, it leads to something, an initiative, a move, something big. Mars going direct in its shadow path up to that 6th degree of Leo. Well, Mars is supportive of this. Mars is also preparing to make something happen. Mars going direct, well, this can also be related to home, where I belong, community, people, family, past, what happened in the past, relation with family, childhood, anything from childhood, nationality, ethnicity, borders, internationally speaking. And Saturn and Sun in Pisces, again, the past, but this can even be past. When there is a moment when past existence and past life matters, there's this. Because usually many astrologers make such a big hype of every eclipse and any Pisces season, anything that takes place in Pisces. Well, I cannot disagree that any eclipse and any Pisces activity has a chance to, of course, bring something from past lives and previous existences. But when whatever that past life, past existence energy that is brought up is really significant in this incarnation, and not just the dream, not just a knowledge that really doesn't serve you all that much on a practical level. Now it's not that. Now it's really, it matters even in this incarnation for your future. Because something coming from past life, and chances are not just one, but something that has been running in your soul matrix for many lives now comes to an end because you worked in this incarnation for it, one way or another. So, one way or another, right? This ends the victim consciousness, but that can be ended either ways. Where the victim consciousness can end also when the victim is in graver danger than what it's a victim to, and the survival instinct pops up, and immediately everything is a-okay because the victim stops being a victim and does what they need to do and really manage the situation, or where the victim is compensated and they can no longer claim to be a victim. Anyway, this can really bring energies from previous exist and the karma, those karmic elements that astrologers say to any eclipse and any Pisces activity for this time is real, but only this time, right? This time that stuff is real, including collectively. So yeah. And Venus, well, what how will this change our collective value system and what we love and no longer love? How will this change what we can accept and no longer can accept? But at the same time, mercurially as well, because Mercury will do the same thing as Venus, really. After this 14th or 15th of March, Mercury will start moving backwards. So it will conjunct Neptune, it will conjunct the nodes, it will meet the Sun, Saturn, and then so Mercury retrograde starts on 14th or 15th of March and ends on the 7th of April, where Mercury goes back into Pisces on the 31st of March, another eclipse energy, and back into Aries on the 17th of April. So going direct back into Aries on the 17th of April. Both of these planets are aiming towards that 9-10 degrees of Aries, where they started their retrogrades from. So Mercury will do the same thing. Figure it out. But how? Well, in Aries, it needs facts, it needs real. In Pisces is where it can really interpret and must interpret. What does all of that, not just what the eclipse stirred up, but also what I've been doing in my life since, I don't know, summer last year or even before. What am I going to do at that? Right? So there's that side of things. And Mercury retrograde in Pisces, especially with this eclipses and all of this, and Saturn, Neptune there, Neptune also in Aries soon. If there was ever the best time to really go back to childhood, heal, go to psychoanalyst or on your own methodology, with your own resources, methodology, really go back, heal, understand, ask yourself questions, look at the ugly, look at your pains that are not going anywhere, admit things to yourself, especially in the Venus, in the Venusian way. I love what I love, and I'm not gonna deny this from myself any longer. That's so liberating. Or the opposite. I don't really love it. Like, I don't want to give this exam. I changed my mind. So there are certain spiritual paths which are very mellow, chill, very extremely peace oriented. They're so attractive, even to people who have ADHD and other configurations. They love the philosophy, the thought of it, but it really doesn't resonate with them. And they torture themselves for months and years with it, and then come to, in this case, me, a mystic. Why am I not growing? Well, you're not growing because your love is not real. Your mind loves it, and your soul loves the philosophy and embraces it, but as a lifestyle, you to actually live it actively, that's count. You're not that. You're definitely not that. Eureka moment. Oh, you're so right. And then they go and do their thing and everyone's happy. This energy is very so much like that, where the illusion or the love that is forced upon us breaks. So not a very easy energy, and Uranus trines the moon. Surprise, surprise, but also Uranus brings the extreme truth. Uranus brings the extreme awareness. Now, Uranus has a different side. Sometimes Uranus is where the individual, right? The individual's truth and authenticity and honesty and whatever. But this is what astrologers don't tell you. Uranus works the opposite way, where it doesn't matter, your divinity doesn't matter to Uranus. If Uranus says everyone apart from you is one way, that's the truth, and you can do your divinity what you want. So Uranus also enforces the collective truth. Uranus is the anti-divine planet, right? For example, that's why it rules technology. I don't need the divine. Understanding and knowledge gives me the power. Nihil sine deo, you might say. Yes, but Uranus, in its very existence, is the counter nihil sine deo. By divine right, right? So it's just doing its job. Let's not understand Uranus that it favors the individual if that goes against the call. No, 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 no. Uranus favors that which works for everyone. The truth, which is the truth by statistic. So there's that side to Uranus which will dish out the reality check. Yes, Uranus is also sheer chaos and the creational element of chaos and the divine within chaos, but you need to have a good relation with Uranus for that to be the case. If your relation with Uranus is risk prevention based, then it's not going to work for you, right? Then for you personally, Uranus is the external Uranus. Everyone else's norm, not anyway, it doesn't matter. So Uranus brain dishes out a powerful truth, but who is the executioner? Venus. Uranus in Taurus. Venus retrograde. So that's what I mean. This energy can be refined. You can own it and do with it what you need to do. Now, before I don't forget, I would also like to speak about the Sabian symbol of this full moon, lunar eclipse, which is, well, Mary and her white lamb. This is the symbol of innocence. But exactly the duality of this. You need to see what's your case in your life. Is the innocence the devil? Or what is it? Because it's going to be eclipsed. If innocence is preventing you from something, well, it's going to be eclipsed and you can understand how it's in your greatest good. Time to take off the wool of our eyes, or the rose tinted glass of the bubble, unicorns, rainbow breaks, and the gray is revealed, right? There's that type of energy when it's not magical. I know eclipse, but it's not magical. It is magical for the real magician, in the sense who lives in the forest and outside of society. For society is not going to be magical at all. It's cold, hard reality. So, but on the other hand, as I said, there is the power of innocence. Because if it's divinely innocent, then that's a saintly energy. In the sense that why are saints saints? Not even the entirety of cosmos can touch them. Everything in the cosmos, any deity, any power, earth, dense or not dense, has to leave saints alone because they connected to the very soul of God. So the soul of the universe is not going to spit its own soul in its face, right? It is where you're not swearing at the mirror and spitting at it, and because if you are doing that, you're sick, right? So the universe does not spit at its very spirit, the highest part of it. It respects it blindly. So that's why saints are immune. Whoever manages that level of innocence, this eclipse makes the universe bow to that person. For everyone else, the innocence is gone. The bubble of illusion shatters. So, and let's complicate things. Uranus is not alone. It is conjunct to trans-Neptunian object named Lempo, a sex deity, like an incubus. I know this shouldn't be said in any horoscope, but ladies and boys even, this is rape energy. Be careful. Not just because of Lempo, but also because of something else that we're going to be taking the Sabian symbol, Mary and her lamb, the sacrificial lamb. On the world stage, there's going to be something ugly out there, sexual of nature. But to any of my listeners, be very careful at the time of the eclipse. In this sense, don't go to party you're not sure of. Don't take substances. Don't accept drinks from strangers. Stay off from dangerous areas and streets. So there's that side to this. But on the other hand, this can be a very good energy for, as I said, people who are sexually very rigid. They're innocent, but because all the wrong reasons. They're delusions, illusions. Something is rigid. There's healing even for those. Because the lempo is where you thought orgasm or sensuality or romance for you was impossible because of this wound, this delusion, that delusion, religion, or whatever. Think again. So this can be a very beautiful energy, but this can also be very dangerous. There is another energy that trines the moon, and that comes from 25 degrees of Capricorn, a trans-Neptunian object named Arakoth. a cloud deity. What does this mean? Sometimes, again, the in power of innocence, ideal taken to the divine planes, well, it does things. It actually breaks reality. Saintly power is gonna be, this is the power of saints, really. From 23 degrees of Cancer, asteroid Minerva transit. Wisdom, magic, the divine feminine, especially in Cancer, the power of ancient magic, the power of ancestors in both ways. This is the eclipse when the bad ancestors are gonna be cut off karmically from the present and from the future. What does bad ancestors mean? Well, you don't think that ancestors are only good. Just because they left us wisdom and the way to interpret life and the universe, does that mean they were actually morally okay? Do we know their true purposes? Do you think that we are the only ones manipulated? This, what we live today, is forever. It's been like this always, even in Atlantis, Lemuria, call it what. This was all. Capricorn was always Capricorn, and every sign was always every sign, right? So this energy also cuts off the bad ancestors. Or let me give bad ancestor in a more practical way. That, I don't know, violent, drunk, evil family member, the great grandfather of great grandfather who started a big karmic loop in the family. That's a bad ancestor. So bad ancestral energy is cleansed, purged. Bye bye. Let's close the door, the abyss door onto that, whatever the bad ancestor has done for us. So this is also part of the game. So the moon at that 23 degree of Virgo is conjunct a constellation where I'm only going to mention its main star, Diadem. This also represents the loss of innocence. This also represents that the nice, the good, the elated, the fantasy, the sugarcoat is going. Because it's an eclipse, right? And the sun, now this is even more special, is conjunct, which means that the sun and this fixed star is illuminating the moon. Merkab, the star of sorrows, drowning, again, rape, the consequences of rape. But the good side of it is when that fate, and you can read this in any ancient text, when God, Allah, or whatever, the deity, forced evil to do good deeds as their labor, forced labor for their existence. That's the positive expression of this energy. Evil has to do good, like it or not. But the not so favorable expression of this energy, sorrow, depression, when something is too, and Saturn will conjunct, time is here, and drowning and flooding and disease and this fixed star is, but the eclipse, right? Let's put it in context. All of what I said is revealed because we need to stop it now. Something that is sorrowful needs to stop now urgently. Again, Uranus, the now, the immediate, the urgent. However, Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde make this our, how should I say, forced project for the next couple of weeks. So there is, these retrogrades actually help us with this energy. The now brings the awareness, and then Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde give us the chance to fix it, do it, redo it, whatever that, the retrograde keywords. And Saturn helps a great deal, even though it's cruel. This fixed star is very cruel. But then again, Uranus will move to Algol later on, way after the eclipse, of course, at the 26th degree of Taurus. So there is a lot of tension in the sky, even from the fixed stars. And Uranus is also conjunct another fixed star named Capulus, which is also a rape star. Primitive, dominant male energy that forces itself onto whoever it wants to. And this fixed star also is responsible for extreme weather that really, and this is also a ruthless energy. So Merkab and Capulus together, activated by big planets. Fortunately, right, we must not forget this, it's an eclipse. Let's end this. This comes to an end. This produces us to figure out how to end this. Individually, collectively, alike, doesn't matter. But this energy, the violence, and the needs to be put an end. But again, this is just the need arising, nothing else. So it doesn't need to be all that much pretty, but also very powerful disillusionment energy. So thank you so much for listening. I do hope this helps, and wishing everyone, a lot of strength for these retrogrades, but also these eclipses.